trees are not just trees. Not many people are too well informed about this topic, and that is why it is so special and exciting for me to share the secrets of trees with you. Most people regard trees as living, but they are under the impression and have a tendency to think that all trees are the same, but they have no personality, that they live solitary lives and are unable to sense any feelings from pain to pleasure. Well, you could say that trees are almost the opposite of that. As shown in the picture, they are part of a huge, wide community. They lead complex social lives, and all trees have different character, ranging from a variety of personalities, with some trees living a cautious life, whilst others prefer to take risks. They communicate with each other, they share resources in times of need, and that is why trees are so staggering, and each one of them is a fascinating individual, and that is why I'm so excited to share the secrets of trees with you in this talk. 3 main characteristics which show how complex and intelligent trees are. The first one is that trees share resources with each other. The second one is that trees communicate with each other. And the third one is each tree has a different personality. First, we will look at how trees share resources. Most people think that trees compete against each other for resources, but it is quite on the contrary. Scientists call it the Wood Wide Web. It is a series of fungal networks underground. You might ask, what is the significance of this fungal network to the trees? Well, the network connects the roots of many trees underground in an area, so even a whole forest can be interlinked. And the roots can transfer minerals, nutrients, water, carbon. So when another tree is in need of help, the trees can pump whatever it needs and try and save it. This is also a way in which mother trees nurture young saplings. So this shows trees are social beings. They know that keeping a community together is more beneficial and might one day in return save them. Some scientists believe that trees can distinguish their own roots from roots of other species, but also even from the roots of related individuals. There have been cases where trees have been found dead for centuries, with no leaves, meaning they can't produce any sugar, but under a layer of bark they are still green. Green means chlorophyll, which means sugar. So this means that sugar must have been pumped through the underground network to keep them alive. This shows just how important the Wood Wide Web can be. This is a reason why trees in communities, like in a forest, survive much longer than trees that live solitary lives, and it is all thanks to the fungi. But the Wood Wide Web is also significant for one other thing: communication. The underground network is also one way in which trees can communicate. There are 2 main ways in which trees communicate. One of them is through scent or pheromones, which are released into the air. Another way in which trees communicate is through the Wood Wide Web, through chemical compounds and electrical impulses sent through it. But before we get into more detail on these forms of communications, there is one key question which we have to answer. What do the trees talk about? There is a lot of uncertainty about it, and the only thing that we are sure of is that they send stress signals. This could be a range from "help, I need some sugar," or "help, I'm being attacked." However, there could be many more things that the trees talk about which we haven't found out yet. First, we look at communication through chemical compounds and electrical impulses. These are sent through the Wood Wide Web. The electrical impulses travel at a speed of about 1/3 of an inch per second, which is a rather slow form of messaging. The chemical compounds are also traveling at a slow speed. Now we look at communication through scent and pheromones. These are released when there is an impending danger at hand to warn other trees. A really good example of this is something from the African savanna. Some giraffes were feeding on umbrella thorn acacias. The trees did not like it a bit, and in minutes their trees were filled with toxic substances. The giraffes moved on, but not to the trees near where they were just eating, about 100 meters away. The reason for this is that the tree released some pheromones which signaled to its neighbors that there were giraffes at hand, and so they pumped toxins into their leaves. So the giraffes knew what was happening, and therefore moved further away than the gas could reach. Some people think this counts as a sense of smell because the trees can detect the scent. Another clever thing that trees do is that when a certain animal starts eating the leaves or bark, it releases a scent which attracts that species' predator. So the trees can match the saliva of an animal precisely to its species and then call for its predators to take care of it. Some would say that trees have a sense of taste if they can recognize the saliva. However, this shows just how developed and smart trees actually are and what tactics they have come up with. Now we will look at character and personality in trees. In the first picture that you can see, this tree is growing on the edge of a cliff. You could say that this tree is bold, adventurous, and daring. However, in the second picture, the tree is living normally. You could almost go as far as to say that this tree is living cautiously. Obviously, trees cannot choose where they want to grow. However, this somewhat reflects what choices trees have in their life. Trees can, for example, rather be more cautious and try and minimize the risks they take. However, some trees prefer to take risks and to gain some last-minute resources. A good example of this is in autumn. Some trees prefer to drop their leaves earlier in case there is a sudden frost, while some other trees have them for a few weeks longer, trying to gain some last-minute extra sugar. There are many more examples of this in nature, and not just about risk-taking and cautiousness. This shows that trees are fascinating as individuals, leading almost as if their own minds of their own. And maybe they do have own minds of their own. These are just some theories, but some scientists think that trees have the minds of their own and can make decisions by themselves. Some others think that it's due to their genetics that trees make different decisions. These discoveries like this are really exciting, as it shows just how exciting trees are and how many more things there are waiting for future generations to discover. There is also some evidence that also suggests that trees can remember experiences. One year there was a drought. The trees that experienced the drought consumed less water than other trees in the spring. This shows that trees can remember that there was a drought and therefore saved more water in case there was another drought to make sure that they would survive it. This is really extraordinary as it shows that trees may have memories. Now we're going to have a conclusion. In the first picture here, you can see the talking apple tree from The Wizard of Oz, and in the second picture, probably a more well-known character, Groot from the Guardians of the Galaxy. Clearly, trees are nothing like this, but you might possibly start relating them to things like this. If trees can remember past experiences, make their own choices, communicate with each other, help each other, and feel emotions, maybe trees aren't as far off with characters like Groot and the talking apple tree as we thought before. I would say that trees are the miracles of our world. Each one is a remarkable individual, whether they are ancient, young, beautiful, or ill. Trees communicate with each other. They have a wide range of personalities and help each other when there is a need to do so. Not only that, but trees are essential, vital for life on planet Earth. Without trees, there would be no us, no human race, no life. Here is a quote from Winston Churchill, which roughly summarizes what is happening now. Fancy cutting down all those beautiful trees to make pulp for those bloody newspapers and calling it civilization. Deforestation. This is the major threat that trees are facing. And why? Trees are almost as similar as us in some aspects. They have feelings, they have personalities, they have communities. I think the only reason is that we aren't well aware of it is because they live on a completely different timeline to us. One generation for us humans is a mere fraction of a tree's life. And that is why we humans think of trees as lifeless and apathetic. But recent scientific breakthroughs, and many more to come in the future, will show and teach the humans as a race about trees for the beautiful creatures they actually are. And hopefully we will be able to stop the seemingly endless tide of deforestation. Thank you for watching my talk about trees. Hopefully, you will view trees from a different perspective than before.